Welcome back to the Sports Ticket with Kendall Mark. I am Kevin Gorg. We're on the Alive and Social Network. Thanks to Patrick McGovern's Pub on West 7th and Coors Light. Another Monday of sports and weekend recap. And, boy, we had a lot of really good news with one of our football teams, a lot of really bad news with the other. We had a mixed review with the Wild on the road in St. Louis Saturday off a brilliant home win on Friday against the Cup champions. And we had American Pharoah finish out his racing career in style in the Breeders' Cup. Kendall, bottom line is there was a lot we laughed about, a lot we cried about, we celebrated some, and we still have some pain to deal with on the other side of the things.
So painful. And I don't know if I cried about anything, but I mean, I felt like it after leaving that Gopher game.
You were there in person.
Yes, I wanted to cry. And I was in the visitor side of the stands because that's where someone that we know has season tickets. I'm all excited, and we leave a little early because we're winning, and we've got this Halloween party we were supposed to be at 2 hours before.
Were you dressed up in costume already at the game?
Yeah, I was Belle, and Jordan was the Beast. So we were Beauty and the Beast. It was pretty funny though, because at one point he was like, "You cannot." I can't walk by my own. I'm like, why? He's like, because people just look at me like I'm a crazy person. I need Belle to explain my costume, because he was basically like Chew Man. He'd got Chewbacca. Yeah, he's got the furry legs, furry arms that he sewed onto this suit thing, crazy makeup. It was seriously comical, and I think he was really basking in the attention that it was getting him, which was fine. I let him shine. I let him do his thing.
Good for you.
But yeah, so we left a little bit early, and then we're driving up to Brooklyn Park, and I'm like, are you kidding me?
Oh, yeah.
Are you kidding me? And then watching it, the next day, what had happened, it was like, and I think you have a really interesting perspective on it that, everyone's like, why don't they call a timeout? Why don't they call a timeout? But because Jerry's not there anymore.
When the head coach leaves the week of the game, and everybody has a new role, and there's new responsibilities, and he's been gone before, but this was far more surprising. I think in times past, there's some lead up, some run up, and Jerry Kill's still in communication with the coaches even up to the game. This was a completely different situation. It's a whole new ball game when you're taking over. And it's funny, I was in St. Louis working the Wild game, and so I got all my buddies, a bunch of them are Gopher fans. They're at the end of the game, capital letters, touchdown, exclamation points, 4 messages in a row, touchdown, touchdown. I'm like, yes. I knew there was hardly any time left. All of a sudden, I wait a couple minutes. I'm talking to the Wild guys. I'm like, I think the Gophers just took the lead, guys. And all of a sudden, wait, it's being reviewed. So then we wait. You get the da-da-da-da-da-da-da, waiting. Nope, he's down at the 1-inch line, but it's 1st and goal. I'm like, oh, that's cool, man. We still got a timeout. This is easy. I mean, we're just going to punch it in here. And then to find out that the clock issue, the horrible play call, which ran a bunch of time off the clock, and then the quarterback sneak that didn't work, and you're thinking, only the Gophers could pull this off, Kendall. And you're way too young to appreciate this. And we're going to get to some of our season ticket holders who finally tweeted some questions at me this week, and we're going to get their questions answered, and one of them deals with the Gophers. But if you're a Minnesota Gopher football fan, since the 60s, man, you haven't been paid off. Now, you can talk about the New Year's Day game last year, which was really cool, but let's not forget we got our ass kicked in that game by a very average Missouri team.
Touché.
When's the last time this team actually paid us back for the loyalty? And Gopher fans, if nothing, are loyal. And you saw it front and center on Saturday. The crowd was spectacular. I got all kinds of really cool reports. But we're talking the Wisconsin game, late in the game, leading against your arch rivals. You're about to take the axe, muff the snap of the punt in the end zone. Wisconsin recovers for the winning touchdown. I'm talking the Northwestern game I was at a couple years ago where the Gophers led the entire way, had a 14-point lead with under 5 minutes to go, and lost on a Hail Mary at the bell. We saw the 35-point lead at halftime disappear against Texas Tech and Masons last year. We've seen so much heartbreak with this program. This is just another kink in the armor, another loop on the belt. I mean, it's really... Now, this is how we're going to remember the Michigan game this year. We finally got the jug last year. Nobody thought we could keep it. We're 13.5-point underdogs. Coach leaves, and everybody around that program, when you saw sound bites all week long from Mitch Leidner all the way through, as we're dedicating this weekend's game to what Coach Kill has meant to us, we are going to play our best game of the year. And give those kids credit. They did. They played a phenomenal football game against a vastly superior team. So don't for a second question my negativity with anything that the kids did throughout the balance of that game. But the coaches have to be on the hook for some of this, and the execution of the plays also has to be at least exposed. I mean, it was just a complete gaffe in the closing seconds that allowed Michigan to walk away with the jug.
It was just like the Super Bowl last year. Like, I mean, it was
Similar.
just without the whole interception part. But why would you do that? Why was the thought to let's throw the ball? We're a run offense, period, number one. And then to do it on that final play, and then you've got someone like Santosa, and it's like, I get it, you want to go for the win, but like, come on. I don't
have a problem with going for the win at all. I wouldn't have even thought about kicking the field goal, but the time running down, and then the weird, you can throw the ball down there if you're the Gophers, but you have to throw a ball that's going to be either your guy catches it in the corner of the end zone on a lob play, or it's incomplete and the clock barely runs. You don't roll him out and run this gadget play where there's no room to really set up the gadget. And that's what kills me. And if you've got X amount of downs, you're going to run it on one of the downs knowing you're going to call timeout immediately. Then you're going to throw it on play action, and then you probably have one more play. And now it's decision time. And if you want to take the easy way out and kick the field goal, there are a couple of factors to support your take. Mm-hmm. Number one, you're at home, which certainly matters. Number two, their starting quarterback did go out with an injury. So that does matter. But I'm from the school of thought that if you're the better team, if you're the 13-point favorite, you welcome overtime at that point. If you're the 13-point underdog and you have a couple inches to get, frankly, you go for it. Now, I don't know enough about the interior line and the blocking scheme down there, but you should be able to make those inches with a quarterback the size of Leidner in that situation if you get any kind of blocking. Looking at the replay, it looks like their linebacker guessed right. He knew exactly which way Leidner was going, blew the play up. We didn't get the inches we needed, and it's one of the most difficult losses that I can recall. And I'm age 48, so I did get a couple of inquiries on Twitter from our season ticket holders, and this first question we're going to use on the show today comes from a guy named Scott Anderson out in Maple Grove. He's a big part of their Maple Grove coaching staff at the youth level. Their team, of course, down to the Final Four in 6A high school football. So Scotty says, was this the most painful Gopher loss you've seen? If not, which was? And now, can this team make a bowl? Is it the most painful? Probably not, but it's certainly top five for me. I go back to that Wisconsin game. That, for me, is the most painful loss I've ever seen because I hate the Badgers. Mm-hmm. If you're a Gopher fan, you have to. No disrespect, neighbors. But the game's in your hip pocket. It's a lot like what happened to Michigan against Michigan State a couple of weeks ago. Arch rivals, execute a punt, you win. Mm-hmm. Don't execute the punt, and that, to me, is the worst loss that I can remember in Gopher football history. But, Kendall, I'll pose the question to you. They got to get to 6 wins to make a bowl. They're sitting right now with 4. You've got Ohio State, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Illinois. Do they make the bowl game? Answer Scotty's question.
Oh, gosh. You know, as soon as you said that, I was trying to think of a game that would be more painful. Because in college, I don't remember. I mean, we just weren't very good when I was in school until Kill got there. And we still weren't this, amazing team yet. I think back when I was a kid, back in the Maroney running back days, when we were pretty good, I'm sure there were a few games, especially because I was a kid, that I probably
the Michigan
cried
game?
over.
Speaking of that era, national TV. Remember, the game got bumped to a Friday night game because Saturday the Twins were playing in the playoffs. So it's a Friday night nationally televised game on ESPN. Mm-hmm. Michigan and Minnesota. Minnesota's ranked, I believe at the time, in the top 15. But if they win this game, they're going to be in the top 10, maybe the top 5. Mm-hmm. And it was back and forth. And in vintage Gopher fashion, they blow it. And the whole season just torpedoed. So, again, back to the question. Do they make the bowl this year? Do they get 2 more wins out of those last 4? And if they do, other than Illinois, who are they beating?
God, I don't even – that's the thing, though. I don't think that they can. I think
Vegas doesn't either.
I don't want to feel that way. I would love to think that we can beat the Badgers. I don't think so. I would love to think that we can beat Iowa. I don't think
we're not going to beat Ohio State. No chance.
Is not even something that's questionable.
We're going to be a 30-point underdog, aren't we? I mean, 25, 30-point dog.
But if we did, it would be another night like Saturday night. But we're going to have to come out with the clinch at the end of it. I mean, it's going to have to be the
quarterback is suspended, but they've got 8 quarterbacks down there.
Well, it clearly doesn't matter to them since last year's starting quarterback became nothing, and they still won the whole shebang. I mean, no. Oh, God, no.
It's okay. You can say no.
The Homer says no. I think I have somewhere tattooed on me. I think it says, actually, Sky Mouse somewhere. Well, I don't know where the tattoo is, but I'm pretty sure.
Show us right now.
I'm pretty
it's
sure I probably bleed maroon and gold, but I don't think we're going to do it.
No, I'm gonna answer Scott's question. It's not going to happen. I'm not even certain they beat Illinois. This is the kind of loss that, to me, is going to be really difficult to come back from psychologically. They played a spectacular game. I can't see them putting themselves in position to go to Ohio State and win. And Iowa and Wisconsin, to me, both, if you put a perfect game together, maybe, if you win the turnover battle by a couple and you break off a punt or kick return, maybe. Illinois, you got to beat. But it's depressing because, your coach is gone. This coaching staff is certainly in limbo. This game on Saturday did not help their resume or their future with the University of Minnesota. And they all seem like awesome guys. And I was on with Apples to Apples, and Scott and I were talking, and Scott made a good point. It's not that they can't coach these guys that they've got right here, because along with Jerry Kill, they helped bring these guys in. And these guys believe in them, and they know these players. But are they going to be able to go out there and get the next level of player to take this program up the next notch on the ladder? And I don't know that these are the guys that can do that. They're assistant coaches for a reason. There's a big difference personality-wise, in my opinion, from the head coach to the assistant coaches. The head coach is the guy that's in the living room, that's shaking the hands, that's part politician, part head coach, that can convince the elite athlete that even though Minnesota's been mired in mediocrity, you can take this team to the next level and compete for a Big Ten championship, because that's what we're trying to do here. And last year looked like a huge step in the right direction, but after that major step forward last year, New Year's Day bowl game, the whole shebang, the exposure, guys going in the draft, everything, just a perfect storm. 2 steps back this year. They're going to miss a bowl game. They're going to lose their head coach, and they've got a coaching staff in complete limbo right now. So it's a mess. It was the perfect storm to get that marquee win that you want every single season, national TV, Halloween. You're playing Jim Harbaugh, who right now is a lightning rod, not only in the Big Ten, but nationally. I mean, you've got everybody's eyeballs on this game. This was the game Saturday night, and you blew it. And I don't know if this team is good enough and mentally strong enough to come back from that kick in the pants, because that, to me, was the type of loss that might send them to an 0-4 finish, and then you can forget any ideas of a bowl. And then what really hurts, Kendall, is this is a program that's fighting for exposure, and you're not going to get that exposure again. And now you're going to probably lose some recruits with Jerry Kill being gone. So I don't want to sound like negative Nancy, but there isn't a lot I can take positive out of it other than the effort that the kids put on the field. If you want to just take a look at the effort, with your 13-point underdog, you cannot fault what those kids did for 60 minutes in that football game. They just blundered it in the last 20 seconds, and that's the way it goes, right?
Yeah, I guess. Oh, can we talk about another question or something else? My heart's starting to hurt.
All right, we're going to move on to our next segment. We will get to another question. And before we do so, though, do you have any audio, Aaron, from that Gopher game, just to kind of rub a little salt in my wounds, because I'm a little bitter today?
I do. Here's a little bit from the last drive.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let's hurt some more.
Leidner, pump fakes, wants it all, goes to the corner, got it!
After review, the receiver caught the pass, but was down short of the goal line.
No!
It will be Minnesota's ball, 1st and goal at the 1/2-yard line.
16, 15. Now they shift. Leidner's going to go into the gun with 10. 9, 8, got to hustle. Leidner rolls to throw. He's in trouble. Lobs it incomplete, and there's only 2 seconds left in the game.
Boy, I don't know if Leidner knew that they were winding the clock.
Leidner under center. Full house behind him. He'll try to do it himself. Did he get there? No signal, no touchdown. Michigan has won it.
That's enough salt right there. That was brilliant. Great job, Aaron.
I have no words.
But you know what? Brad Nessler is an elite college football broadcaster, and you could just hear the pain in their voices when he's counting the clock down saying, oh, my God, they don't know that the clock has started running again. They're assuming that clock is stopped. And, when the runner's down and you get the first down, they stop the clock to move the chains. But because it was reviewed, the chains have been moved. The chains are down there in that position. It's 1st and goal. That clock's going to wind as soon as you get out of that huddle and you're ready to run the play. And besides letting the time wind down, now you're rolling out. You're rolling out and you're letting more. Even 2 days later, it's a comedy of errors. And I get it. Jerry Kill leaving that week put these coaches in an awful spot, and they seem like awesome dudes. They've been on the radio here locally. I've watched the newscasts, and I've seen the interviews. They seem like the nicest bunch of guys that are in coaching for all the right reasons. So it's hard for me to bang on them. But, man, we're talking Division I Big Ten football. You cannot be excused. If you're going to be in that position, you can't let it happen. We got to close the door on it because it's just too depressing. And we have a beautiful day here in the Twin Cities. It's November, and it's 70 degrees. And now we're going to smile because we're going to talk about a Vikings football team, Kendall, that's 5-2.
Yeah.
That's going to be favored for sure this week. Maybe in Oakland, maybe not, but maybe in Oakland. A chance to go 7-2, face the Packers, and after what happened to them last night, knowing they've got a couple of tough games here in the waiting, one at Carolina, I believe. This could be all tied up, playing for first place. We don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves because St. Louis and Todd Gurley are coming to town, and as we've talked about in our fantasy segments, this guy's a beast. He's a creature. But, hey, the Vikings are 5-2, and that is pretty exciting.
It is. I think I was looking at last night. I think we're 4th right now in the NFC, I think.
We'd be in the playoffs if it started right now.
Yeah, if it started right now.
We'd be going to Arizona to the big giant toaster in the desert to play playoff football. So, I'm sorry. If you're a Vikings fan, you got to be excited about this. And on the heels of that Gopher game, as Minnesota sports fans, you're watching that game on Sunday. Everybody, including us, has talked ad nausea about the fact that the Vikings hadn't won in that stadium since 2007.
Right.
Everybody's brought it up. The players are sick and tired of hearing about it. And lo and behold, the Ratty Bears, who looked down and out early in the game, score the touchdown, take the lead. Let's hear the touchdown right now. Let's hear the Bears take the lead. And this is under 10 minutes to go in the game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the Bears taking the lead. I just have Diggs touchdown.
All right, Bears are taking the lead. Trust me, it hurt. And it did not look good for a Vikings offense that really, after the early part of the second quarter, hadn't moved the football. But we still have Teddy, and we still have this receiver that we've talked about a ton on our fantasy segments named Stephon Diggs, and here they are.
All right, here we go.
Now their defense on the spot. It's 3rd and 4 against Bridgewater, who has time and open. It's Diggs, and he can fly. Stephon Diggs spins in toward the end zone. Touchdown.
Boy, Chris Meyer, though, he is pedestrian at play-by-play. He's so good in the studio. This great job, Aaron, but that just reminded me how awful he is. That play, we all love Paul Allen. If Paul Allen's calling that play, it's an event. This guy, it's really Diggs, yeah, he's got speed, yeah, okay, yeah. He said, "Come on, man, it's late in the game. The Vikes are down a touchdown. This is a game-breaking play."
He sounds like a golf man.
Yeah, he should be the guy with that Quackenbush jumping out of the water, that electric thing on the course with the Geico commercial, because that was. But it's cool to hear because that tied the game, and the Vikings got momentum, and they stole victory from the claws of defeat. Something we're not used to seeing around here, and
it's usually the other way around.
They're doing it with young players. I mean, Adrian Peterson. From a fantasy perspective, he's been a complete dud. I think he's got 2 touchdowns so far this year in 7 weeks. But just overall, the number 30 that gets thrown around all the time in the NFL about running backs and how you got to be careful after age 30, to me, it's rearing its head, man. He is not the same electric player. Now, he had the big run against Detroit 2 weeks ago, but then still didn't break 100 yards. Yesterday, he had 10 yards here, 9 yards there. Certainly impressive numbers throughout most of that game, and the offensive line, I thought, maybe had their best running blocking game of the year because they were opening up some big holes, but he's just doesn't seem like he's got the burst to break it like he used to. He can still do it, especially on turf, but keep an eye on that because it's not the same Adrian Peterson. But the exciting news is Bridgewater, when he's playing like he did yesterday, game managing, able to make a big play with big pressure like he did, and Kendall, we've talked about it for the last 2.5 weeks. Stephon Diggs is legit, man. This is their best weapon offensively. This is a guy that had to work to make the team out of Mankato. Didn't get on the field for a couple weeks after that. And how about him? Pretty solid.
Yeah, I really like him. And I think Charles Johnson's grab at the end there, I mean, that was massive because everybody saw that being an interception. And it wasn't because he just can throw guys out of the way, He's
a big dude.
He's a big dude. And, with talking about Adrian Peterson, I think the coach says it best. It's like playing the lottery when you play with him. Like, either you could really lose and he's going to lose some yardage because he's just going to go for the big gun every time. He's never going to try to just get that, 5 yards. That's not enough for him. So you get you get both sides of him. I agree. You watched last night's game with Green Bay and the Broncos, and you see Eddie Lacy's just like he looks in the power horse way that AP used to me. Where like
but
you can
he
have
can't get loose like AP.
No, he can't get loose, but
fat.
he can power. Like he just rolls people over.
He does.
And you
like
don't
a giant
even
buffet coming at you.
And you don't really say like AP really doing that anymore, and he doesn't get loose either. It's like, so that kind of sucks. But he's still a great player.
He's
obviously.
effective for sure.
He's still going to go down as one of the greats. I think that you're right with watching these receiving core. That's like, nobody knows who any of these guys are other than Wallace, who hasn't done anything.
Wallace has been a shadow. I mean, he's been very, very quiet. Rudolph here and there makes a play, but not consistently. It's a weird deal that they're 5-2 because you can't point to any part of their game and say it's just, oh my God, elite. Like you can look at Dallas's offensive line, that's elite. Even though Dallas is playing without their quarterback, they've got an elite part of their game. Their Vikings defense has pockets that's good, like their pressure, their defensive line pressure can be elite, but it isn't consistent. Their secondary is good, but sometimes gets torched. Peterson looks good, but sometimes gets stuck, kind of like you said, looking for the big play. And because of it, never has the consistent 5 to 6 yard churn that you need to keep the chains moving. And then Diggs now is coming out of nowhere, but really their receiving core, there's a lot of guys. Cordero Patterson, you got to go to the grocery store and get a milk carton to find him. Wallace has been in and out, as you mentioned. Charles Johnson's been hurt, but he hasn't been the player that everybody thought he was going to be. So other than Diggs and Bridgewater on the offensive side of things and a decent dose of AP, the defense under Zimmer is kind of taking control of this team, but they just find their way to be in a position to win. And other than the first game of the year at San Francisco, they've been in position to win, and they found a way to win more often than not. The Denver game, they were right there all the way, and that win's looking more and more impressive by the week after watching the Broncos kick the snot out of the Packers last night. That's just fun to say. But that loss isn't looking bad at all. And then these wins, they don't blow anybody out, right? I mean, at home they had a couple of nice wins early, but lately they're on the grind against Detroit. They're on the grind against Chicago, but they're winning. And it's going to take, another grinded out performance this week against a very, very dangerous St. Louis team. But I'll get back to our season ticket holders. John Schweitz sent us a quick note wanting to know our opinion on the Vikings and the playoffs. And we just talked about it, guys. Right now, as we sit here in early November, they're in position to make the playoffs. But you also know 2 more games with Green Bay. You got a difficult St. Louis team coming to town. You got to go to Oakland, who's red hot right now. You still got to go to the desert to play Arizona, who looks unbelievably good with Carson Palmer. And you got Seattle still in the docket, who's not going to go away anytime soon. So they need to get to probably 10 wins to make the playoffs. They're sitting at 5-2 right now, so that tells me they got to win 5 more games out of their last 9. So they got to go 5-4. John wants to know, will the Vikings be a playoff team? Your thoughts?
It's so interesting that you say that about Oakland too. Like, where the hell did they come from?
Jack Del Rio can coach. Bottom line, he is a terrific coach. And they've got some young weapons. They've been bad long enough, Kendall, where they've been able to get some good young talent. Amari Cooper, definitely hit the home run with him. A wide receiver that's a game breaker that's drawing all kinds of attention, opening the field up for the others like Holmes and Crabtree. You got Latavius Murray, who's a sneaky good back. And Carr is a good quarterback. Nobody talks about Carr. He continues to put up numbers, 4 touchdown passes in the first half yesterday. So this Oakland team is sneaky. They got Woodson on the back end, picking off balls. Del Rio can coach them up. And I believe they're 4-3 right now. Who saw this coming?
Nobody.
So the Vikings are going to have to find a way before this Green Bay game to win at least one of these next 2, if not both. But to answer John's question, I'll jump the gun. I think they are going to make the playoffs. I think they can go 5-4. And I talked about this with Apples to Apples guys a little bit. You got to win one of the games that on paper you're not supposed to, right, Kendall? Right. For me, it's the home game against Green Bay. Off what I saw yesterday in Denver, this Green Bay team, if you face an elite defense that can pressure the quarterback, can be had. And I'm not sure we can do it at Green Bay, but with the crowd and the noise you're going to get at the bank, after watching Denver take advantage of that same situation last night. Now, I'm not saying we're going to hold Rodgers under 100 like the Broncos did, but you hold Rodgers under 200, you almost beat him last year in this stadium. I think you're a better product now, a better defense now. I think they can beat Green Bay when they play here, which means I think they can get to 10 wins. And to answer John's question, one of our season ticket holders, I'm going to tell you right now in November, as of November 2nd, they will be in the postseason. That's a bold prediction.
That's a bold prediction. You even like 2-finger pointed.
I pointed right at you, and I want you to follow up. You can have your own opinion, but tell me why they're going to make it or they're not going to make it.
I think it all depends on our defense. I mean, 100%. We're not a high-scoring team. We're never going to be. It doesn't matter what we do. It doesn't matter what Teddy does. It doesn't matter what AP does. It doesn't matter about that. We need to make sure that our defense, who is doing pretty well, stays healthy and stays consistent about doing well. I mean, for me, that's it. And, you know, seeing Marcus Sherrills go in after that punt return, the homer in me, like, loves his work ethic, that every year he goes out and just puts everything he can down in Mankato, and he sticks around. And then he has blowout moments like that where you're like, I was sitting on the couch next to the Bears cheering boyfriend, and I'm like, go Marcus, like freaking out. I think we need more fun, exciting plays like that. Cordell Patterson has in his defense on any of these kind of returns, he hasn't gotten a lot of opportunity.
Tough on the kick side of things. Different than a punt, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you're starting 8 yards deep in the end zone.
Right.
These kickers now are so talented. They're putting the big arc on the ball. Not many teams. You don't see kickoff returns anymore.
No,
it's almost a waste of time.
He still has the record from, what was that? It was his rookie year that returned 109 yards.
Is that Baltimore in the snow? I want to say one of those.
No, it was Green Bay, wasn't it?
Well, he did one in Baltimore for sure. I remember him taking one to the house in Baltimore.
Oh, yeah,
He's got the skill set to do that, but I don't think the kickoffs now allow a player time and space to get that motor going early, to get the speed you need to beat that many players who are so well coached now that they take away all angles, especially to the wide side of the field. So it's a waste of time, the kickoff returns, in my opinion. Just take a knee and move on, and don't waste it.
Take a knee and
don't waste the injury, because these guys are going to get hurt
seriously
on kickoff
and
returns.
They do.
All the time.
They do.
Saw it on a punt return in Dallas yesterday. One of the Seahawks players is out for the year, the Lockett kid.
Yeah.
Very bad injury. He's got a severe neck injury. He didn't move for a while. Scary situation in Dallas 100%. Yesterday. So you put yourself in that weird spot where you want to try to make an impact. If you're Cordell Patterson, you want to, feel justified for the money you're making and the hype that you have surrounding you, even though you've done nothing. And so you want to return those kicks, but then you end up getting to the 15 or 16-yard line and putting your team in a bad spot. So I don't know what the answer is, but I do know that their punt return team looked awfully good yesterday. Got them the touchdown, got them some good field position a couple of times. But they're a team right now that's just kind of ham and egging it. They're not doing anything in spectacular fashion.
No.
But they're putting themselves in position to win. And when push comes to shove at crunch time in these games, in the last 2 weeks on the road, which to me is really important for a team that struggled for so long on the road, they've been able to pull games out that in years past Vikings teams would have lost. I promise you, the game in Detroit, the game in Chicago, they both would have gone pear-shaped. You would have walked away saying, how did they lose? But they did. And it was just the opposite. They found a way to win both these football games. And now you come home where you've been a dramatically better team.
Right.
And all the hype around this running back, this kid, Todd Gurley, who, he's quite the specimen. He's big and strong. But I'm not worried about this matchup because the Vikings defense, when I watch them play, is really good in the interior. They've been solid on the line. And, you look at Matt Forte before he got hurt yesterday. He was just okay.
Yeah.
Name a running back that's, other than the Hillman run at Denver, which to me was a bit of a fluke, other than the Hillman run at Denver, this team, outside of week 1, which I still cannot explain what Hyde and the Niners did to the Vikings. I sit here now.
Well, especially now that you've seen how their season has played out.
They're awful, and Hyde hasn't done anything. That game, to me, I'm going to put a circle around it because something was wrong, whether it was the travel, the 5 preseason games, the overconfidence, the late start. I don't know what it was. I'm not going to make excuses. I'm just going to put a big circle on it because nothing makes sense in that game. You eliminate that game and the Hillman run, there's been no run against the Vikings. So I do think they can give Todd Gurley all he wants, and I think he'll be hard-pressed to continue this 100-plus yards that he seems to churn out every single game since he got healthy. Intriguing matchup for me, and I think we'll get into that on Thursday when we're over at McGovern's from 3:30 to 4:30. Don't forget, live show Thursday to get you ready for that wild game. West 7th, Shadows of the X Energy Center, Patrick McGovern's Pub. Outstanding food options.
Right.
Big specials on Coors Light. And come over, meet Kendall, say hi to us, take in the show, then have some dinner, and then walk across the street to watch the Wild play Nashville that night, who right now I believe is threatening to be one of the top teams in the division. Like the Wild, I think they're 7-2-2. Pekka Rinne, great hockey team. Carrie Underwood's husband, the ever-handsome Mike Fisher. Terrific matchup on Thursday. Or just come to McGovern's, have dinner, watch our show, and watch the Wild game on TV while you enjoy those Coors Light specials. But we're going to be there Thursday, 3:30 to 4:30. We'll get you a big Vikings-Rams preview. We'll have all your fantasy football steam, and, of course, we'll have some great Wild information for you to get you ready for that big game.
Boom. I think that last week, actually, I had a lot of fun at McGovern's. There was a bunch of different big groups there.
It was festive.
It was very festive. It was loud to the point where Aaron's like, oh, I don't know what to do, because you could hear all this stuff going on. But it was really fun, and I just, they're so nice there too. Honest to God, everybody who works there is so cool. I went there after the game. On when did I work? Friday night after the Wild game, and it was packed, and it was so fun. The service was great.
You got your drink on, didn't you?
On Friday night,
because you were rocking it in house. By the way, I got to give you some serious kudos. You were you were on fire that night. I was watching. You were going after it.
It was really fun. Actually, I love working with Rusty.
He's good.
He's so funny, and he's so chill that he makes you just I've been so nervous, and this time he's just so hey, okay, you ready to do this?
He could do it in his sleep, yeah.
Right? That it makes it to me seem like it's no big deal. And
you were good Friday.
Thanks.
So you got your drink on after.
So I did. I was like, I really need to I need a stiff one right now, because I am that was so exciting and so
you get the energy
exhausting.
Up, right? It's nerve wracking at times. You're in front of 19,000 people. Mm-hmm. Try it sometime. I mean, I the stuff we do for TV doesn't bother me. This thing is fun, but I've done the Let's Play Hockey thing. It freaks me out.
It's
because you're
scary.
Literally talking to 19,000 people, and it's like, are you kidding me?
And you don't want to and you don't want to mess anything up. I know, for example, I know Zach Parisi is Zach Parisi, but for some stupid reason, I'm am I going to pronounce his name wrong in front of all these people? You think all those dumb things.
Go like Mike Emmerich and call him Zach Parise.
Yeah.
The national guy's Parise.
Right.
Or Parise.
Right. And I don't want to be oh gosh, in the playoffs last year when everybody was heckling, what's his name? Because he kept saying
Steve Ott?
No, he was
Crawford?
Granlund.
Granlund
or something.
Yeah,
and we were all get it right, bro. Come on.
They kept butchering it over and over again.
And I don't want to be that person, but I mean, I know what I'm talking about. I just have to not think about it.
Yeah. I get it. It's
you know what I mean?
19,000. You can't put the toothpaste back into the tube. Sometimes here Aaron can kind of dress some things up for us, and we can reboot this and reboot that. We're almost always live. Promise you. But you're right. That's a whole different avenue when you're in front of that live crowd. So we're halfway home on a Monday. We're still going to talk a lot about the Wild. We're going to talk a little about the World Series, which wrapped up last night. We're going to get into the big American Pharaoh taking down the Breeders' Cup Classic. We're going to hear the entire race of that great event. It was spectacular. Yeah, it was based on balls because his biggest competitor in the race, Beholder, scratched. But I mentioned I was on with the Apples to Apples guys and just love Scotty and Drew. They're terrific at what they do. 3,000 in the Orchard every single show. We're just hoping to get there. We appreciate you folks, the season ticket holders. But for the folks that are out there maybe finding us for one of the first couple of times, and for a veteran like yourself that listens to all the shows here on the Live and Social Network, give our season ticket holders the inside scoop on where they should head after they get done listening to our great show every Monday and Thursday.
Every Monday and Thursday. I agree. Love Apples to Apples. If you guys, you like listening to us, you like that father-son relationship, which is freaking hilarious. Not every son and dad talk to each other this way.
No way.
Which makes it so much more exciting. They're going to be on Mondays right before us. They're at 2:30. Otherwise, if a show that really embraces the geeks out there, the geeks of the world. And I'm not afraid to admit that I talk about drones all day in my regular job. So I'm kind of a geek.
A little bit.
I talk to regular geeks all the time. If you want that, Saturdays at 11 a.m. That's your geek show. Or as always, you can listen to it on aliveandsocial.com. There's so many. We've had the 4 Outdoorsmen. We had so much fun when Brian came on the show. That was really...
Yeah, Zepper's a good dude.
That was really exciting. They're going to be on, let's see, what time are they on? Well, they're on aliveandsocial.com. Sorry, I totally lost what I was talking about.
That's what happens.
But I really do like those guys. And if you're into hunting and all that kind of stuff, this is the perfect time to be listening to a show like the
Fall in Minnesota, of course it is.
And last but not least, for our loyal listeners, Wild Wednesdays. Been on the show. Scott was on the show with us last Thursday. These guys and I'm not even including you in this, Gorg, because to me, you are an elite hockey mind. I'm a hockey fan. Like, I know the big names. I know the good teams.
You attend the games.
I attend the games. I read up on the Wild if I don't watch the game. But these guys are like backwards and forwards. Seriously.
It's awesome.
I mean, they're like, I mean, I felt kind of dumb at certain points on the show. But like, Sarah's like, she's like, I'm a Canadian and I hate everybody who thinks they know hockey here in Minnesota.
She's good.
She doesn't say that, but
she's good.
She's totally loving and wonderful. But she knows what's up. I mean, they've got Tony on the show all the time. He just goes onto these rants, and I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. But
Tony's got so much passion for the game.
He's got
so
terrific.
much
passion. He's like the
Follow
guy
him on Twitter. He's great.
Right. He's the guy that you have over for a beer when you're watching the game. If you want, that inside information. So their show's great. It's on Wednesdays from 5 to 6. They're at Bennett's live if you ever want to stop by and say hi to the guys and, shoot the shit with them.
Absolutely. Great call. So, speaking of the Wild, we always talk Wild on this show. We are a hockey-centric show. We will be all winter long. And, of course, every Thursday if the Wild are in town, we just talked about it. We have a pregame party, a live podcast from 3:30 to 4:30 at McGovern's. Non-home game Thursdays, we're at 5 to 6 at that same location with the same great Coors Light specials. Patrick McGovern's, West St. Paul? Yeah.
West 7th Street?
West 7th Street.
Yeah.
It's west side of the XL, whatever. It's a terrific spot. Don't get shut out. Let's talk about the weekend that was for the Wild. Per usual, I was with the club. Home game Friday, late night flight into St. Louis. No practice Saturday morning. Just let the boys sleep in and come to the rink for that second of back-to-backs. And two very difficult teams, two teams you just saw in the playoffs, so these games are going to be intense. And, Chicago's been an enigma this year. They've had the Patrick Kane thing hovering over their head. They've had really tough time scoring goals, which we don't normally see in Chicago. No more Saad, no more Oduya, no more Patrick Sharp. It's a different-looking roster. It's still the Blackhawks. You still have Taves. You still have Kane. Duncan Keith is hurt right now. So you're going to certainly put an asterisk by the win. But the way the Wild won the game, once again, coming from behind, once again being able to score goals, 5 of them that night on the Blackhawks, it's always a good thing. And in typical Wild fashion this year, they're getting different players to chip in every single night. And it was a nice win to see. It was a super entertaining game. You were there. The crowd was jumping.
100%. And
I like this team because I don't think we've seen this team's A effort, nor I think in October or November do you need to see their A effort. But they're 7-2-2. They played a difficult schedule with some back-to-backs and some tough travel, and here they are. I like the team. It's a tough division, but I think they're going to be in this division all the way, and I think they're good enough, if they stay healthy, to win this division. So Friday night, Blackhawks game, you were working it. Aside from all the great work you were doing on the Jumbotron and the in-between period stuff and all the fun stuff you guys did, the hockey game itself, if you're going to put your money down to come watch a regular season game,
right,
that's the kind of game you want to see right there.
Right.
5-4 game. Elite talent, back and forth. Taves was Taves. He was awesome. Like I said, the Wild were rocking it. The power play was good. I really enjoyed the game.
Yeah, I did too. I think that there was a lot of Blackhawks fans that enjoyed the game, which, to be honest, I think because we're Minnesota, and this isn't playoffs I'm talking, this is just a regular game in October, November. We're not the loudest people. Like, they did this really nice commemorative piece for Brian Mock.
The official, Brian Mock. Yeah.
Thank you.
1,000 games in the league.
Right,
Very
and
cool.
that's a really cool thing that his family got to come out on the ice, and Koivu was going to come, skate it over and get him
Taves.
a signed sweater, and the clapping's from the Wild fans. Taves comes over with a signed stick, and all the Blackhawks fans are like freaking out because he's coming.
There were a couple thousand of them there too.
All of a sudden, all the Wild fans are like, wait, what? You're cheering louder than we are? And I think we need that sometimes.
Brings out the best in our
that's
fans.
right. You need to cheer for your homies. Come on.
Well,
do better.
You're right. And when they're at their very best, mark your calendars down. A week from tomorrow, Winnipeg's in town. And the Jets bring legitimately 4,000 drunk fans to these games.
They're crazy.
And they get the Let's Go, or they get the Go Jets Go going. And then the Wild fans get upset because they're out cheering the home team. So they get the Let's Go Wild. And it's like a college game. They go back and forth. It is the best that the Wild fans had to offer. I'll give Minnesota Wild fans this. They're at their loudest and at their best in the playoffs and when it matters most. And they're a lot like we see up in Montreal and Toronto. Hardcore hockey fans that don't just give out applause for the sake of applause. They know the game. They know the spot. And at certain times on Friday, they got really loud. Wild were buzzing on a power play. The Hawks never got the puck out of the defensive end. And even though the Wild didn't score, that power play got over without a goal, and they gave them a huge ovation. That's a hockey market that gets it, and Wild fans are that way. Playoff hockey and Jets games where you see Minnesota fans just get crazy. That's when they're at their very, very best. So now we'll page to Saturday, and if you watch the game, and maybe people were either at the Gopher game or watching the Gopher game, I think our ratings spiked up for overtime because that's when the Gopher game was over and there was 3-on-3. Everybody loves 3-on-3. It's new. It's wow. It's exciting.
It's crazy.
But if you didn't see the game, the Blues came out and just tried to attack physically the Minnesota Wild. Very predictable. I get it. The Wild are a quick team. They're a skilled team, and they don't have anybody right now outside of a guy like Nate Prosser or Ryan Carter who aren't really fighters, but they'll drop the mitts. And so St. Louis was going to try to run Minnesota out of that building. To the Wild's credit, they took the hits and kept on playing, and it was a back-and-forth first period that saw a ton of offense. 2-2. Each team scored a couple in the first period, and then there was no more scoring. But it was an exciting game like you saw on Friday. Second of a back-to-back, super impressive. I will say Devin Dubnyk gave up a goal on the front end of that hockey game to Backus from just inside the blue line that, Kendall, honest to God, in your street clothes, you could have stopped it. I have no idea how Dubnyk let this puck in, but it was a knuckler from the point. Backus was just trying to throw it at the net and get off on a change, and it dipped and went under his glove and went into the net, and it was like, holy cow, that puck just went in. And it was a punch in the stomach for sure, but to the Wild's credit, they got up off the mat and gave themselves a chance to win it. It went to overtime, and a guy from Spring Lake Park that played his college hockey in Mankato, who I know personally had a really difficult summer hearing from all his buddies up here that the hometown team ended his season. It's regular season, yes, it's overtime, and it's a Minnesotan putting the dagger in the Minnesota Wild.
And here comes Ratty. He's got a late man. 3-on-2. Ratty, the late man Backus for the winner. He scores! A spectacular shot by David Backus.
Spectacular? I like that.
That was a good Halloween night call. It was a brilliant play, and 3-on-3 hockey is so much fun to watch.
It's terrifying.
Back and forth. It was just the Wild had odd number rushes. The Blues had odd number rushes. There were chances galore. And then it was a 3-on-2 where the Wild got caught with one of their players in deep. It happens every single offensive chance in 3-on-3 hockey. Backus was the trailing forward. They got him the puck. He cut to the middle, and he got Dubnyk going right to left. And he put a rifle wrist shot up off the bar and in. Perfect shot, perfect time. Nothing Dubnyk could do. And just a fitting end of the game, being that the Blues obviously were still looking for revenge. They had played the Wild up here already this season and been defeated. And I know from talking to Backus that the offseason was horrific for him because he lives here in the offseason, and all he got to hear about was the Wild this, the Wild that. And that's difficult. I get it. But taking a step back and looking at the weekend, 3 points out of a possible 4, 7-2-2 in the thick of it in the Central, which is clearly the best division in hockey. It's going to be a fun winter. Bottom line is, Kendall, there are going to be injuries, and right now they're dealing with Justin Fontaine, who got the knee contact on Friday. Mike Yeo, after the Blues game, we talked with him a little bit, and he was very coy about it, just saying it's week to week. It's not going to be a quick return for him. And this isn't disrespect to Justin Fontaine. He's a key cog on that third line. He's a really heady, smart player. He's a player you forget about that plays a really significant role, especially down the stretch and in the playoffs. But it's Justin Fontaine. Yeah. It's not Zach Parise. It's not Ryan Suter. It's not Jason Zucker. It's not Devin Dubnyk. There are different levels of panic when it comes to injuries, and they'll deal with this. Jordan Schrader got the nod the other night and looked good. Tyler Graveck is still working his way back from his injury. You might see him in the next couple of weeks. But bottom line is, I really think this team is good enough to take to the next step. And that's what all Wild fans ask me when I bump into them in town is, can they get by a team like Chicago? Can they get to a conference final or even get to the Stanley Cup? I say so far, I like what I'm seeing. It's early. We're a month into the season. But this team has, to me, taken a baby step early. Players like Charlie Coyle are the reason I say it. He's a much better hockey player. I think they're going to be there when it counts. And it's a good start. 7-2-2. Leave it at that. It's a very early time to give us a progress report, but I'm very happy with what I see.
I was too. I think on Friday, watching the game, the end of it was exciting. I love the pulled goalie, but I hate it at the same time because you're like, the whole time. And like you said, that was when the Wild fans got crazy. And whenever Chicago started doing their chant, we started with ours, like Nordy got involved and everything. But it was it was so fun to see them be able to hold it together, because in years past and other sports teams, we just talked about the Gophers. We just talked about how this is so crazy that the Vikings actually won at the very end of the game, because we're used to being the team that loses at the very end of the game. So seeing them be able to do that against Chicago, who mentally is equatable to me like, you know, the Vikings mentally playing the Patriots, like watching the Twins mentally play the Yankees.
No
like,
question.
They're just, they can't like get past it. And it seemed easy enough to do. They were putting out their best stuff, and so were we. And ours was better that night. And I was happy, to be honest, that they weren't doing the "she said no" chant with Kane. I think
they stayed away from that. I was impressed.
I was happy that
a couple of signs that went too far.
Right, and he got booed, which, all right, cool, that's fine. But I was happy that we stayed classy to the extent of like, we're not going to be like Philadelphia. Like, there's a real person involved here.
We might.
Well, then we will. But in the meantime, showing that, you know, we don't. We're just not going to fall into that.
It's a tough thing. It's a very, let's let it play out. And I think the fans are pretty respectful. And you know, let's be honest, I think everybody, I'll include myself in this category. I mean, I hate what the Blackhawks have done to us, but I don't hate the Hawks. I mean,
no,
I enjoy watching them play. I enjoy Jonathan Taves. I enjoy Patrick Kane's game. They're spectacular to watch. So, yeah, I mean, I think that the Minnesota hockey fan in us, and I think there's a lot of people in that building that are hardcore hockey fans, has a respect level and appreciation for what those guys do and how they do it.
Mm-hmm.
One more question from our season ticket holders comes from a female, Brenda B. out in Minnetonka. She says, I know it's early, but through 11 games, who would your MVP be of the season so far? And I think the obvious choice, top of the head, would be Zach.
Crazy.
But I don't think he's the MVP. I think he got off to that great start, and that first line has had a really hard time scoring the last week. The last 3 or 4 games, they have not scored. Palmerville's still in the donut. Granny hasn't scored in a while, and Zach's still sitting at 7. So I think Ryan Suter's my pick, and he's playing less minutes. He was the number 1 star in the game on Friday, and a good choice by the Minnesota press staff, and leads the team in assists. He's a big-time plus player right now. He's quarterbacking the power play that's certainly better than it was last year. And I just like his overall game. He's got more energy this year, and I think last year, and he's admitted to this as much off camera, that the passing of his father and the difficulty with Zach and what he went through, his best friend on the team, was just a little bit too much to overcome. And the frustration with the way the team was playing and the pressure that continued to mount. He didn't have a great year last year. He was okay because he's such a talented guy. This year he's, I think, in a better place mentally, and you can see it translate into better hockey on the ice. Ryan Suter is the kind of player that makes Jared Spurgeon a better player, the kind of player that makes the power play go. When he's on, he can certainly kill it when he's off, but when he's on like he is right now, he makes the power play better. And I think that, you know, for the Wild, if they're going to be that division winner, that team that does make a run at the Cup, your best players have to be at their very best. And I think right now, Parise got out to that great start, but Ryan Suter is at his highest level, and I think that's really a key factor behind the scenes as to why this team is winning the way they're winning.
I still got to go with Parise.
Yeah, can't argue it. 7 goals.
I think I agree. You know, he's been at 7 goals for a while now. You know, 6 goals, but I think what Parise brings to the team is he's like a gnat. You know, like,
never stops.
If you played against him, I mean, you would just be like, dude, can you just stop? Like, I would be, he'd be that guy you'd just be so frustrated with to the point of distraction, you know, and every time he's on the ice, for whether that be a power play or whether it be we're down and we're in the zone ready to go, if Parise's on the ice, I have more confidence in the team. You can say the same thing, I mean, about Suter, and you can say the same thing probably about Zucker, but you can't really say that about a lot of the other players. Like, I want them on the ice in this moment.
Yeah.
And to me, he's my guy. And I was always that person that's like, I'm not going to buy a Parise sweater because everybody has one. And now I'm kind of like, I kind of think I should probably get a Parise sweater because he's going to be a classic.
He's the man. He's always going to be the man around here. And he's such a popular guy, and he's handsome. He's, you know,
can't
he's a
forget
nice
about
guy.
that.
Well, I knew you'd have something to say there. I had to steal your thunder there. But he's the guy that never takes a shift off. And so he's consistently good. He does it the right way. There's a tow truck just taking your car out of there, Kendall. I'm sorry to see that.
Thanks.
I'll get you a ride to the bus station.
Really appreciate it.
Just kidding. No, there was a tow truck that went by, but it's not your car in the back. So, yeah, Zach's a great pick. And we want more of your questions. If you're a season ticket holder, if you're coming to our show every Monday and Thursday and logging on to Alive and Social and finding the sports ticket, we want to hear from you. At FSN Gorg, at MSKENDALLMARK.
Mine's so much longer than yours.
Yeah, mine's a little easier, but you know what? Yours is more important.
It's just my name.
Give us your best stuff all week long. We'll get your questions on the show. We'll give you some love. And if you want us to give your Twitter handle out, we'll get it for you. We'll get you more followers, whatever it takes. But we've got about between 500 and 700 season ticket holders right now, depending on the day. We want to get that number pumped up into the thousands, and we know you'll carry us there. Bring your questions, make the show better. And again, at FSN Gorg, at MS Kendall Mark, you know the spot, and we'll get you into the program. We got one more segment to go. It's going to be a shorter segment, and then don't forget Thursday, live from Patrick McGovern's Pub, West 7th in St. Paul, 3:30 to 4:30 with those great Coors Light specials. Come be a part of it. Get your picture taken with the lovely and talented Kendall Mark.
Gorg will be there too.
Yeah, I'll be there too. And I'll be in my suit. So that says something. I've got this weird beard thing going for Movember. Aaron's going to have a mustache, which you're going to want to see that.
I'm going to have a beard.
Young porn star. It's going to be terrific. If you have a beard, we've got some questions around that. But, you know, I'm a horse racing guy at heart. Kendall, you worked all summer for CanterburyPark.com. Jeff Madej and that crew out there, so special in my world. And as horse racing goes, we're on the back page of the sports section. We know our place. It's a niche sport. It rarely makes it to the front of any sports section or the top of Sports Center. But on Saturday, something special happened. And because the Breeders' Cup didn't start until the 80s, and we hadn't seen a Triple Crown winner since the late 70s in 1978, American Pharoah was the first Triple Crown winner to have a chance at the Grand Slam, which is to take those 3 Triple Crown races and bank it into a Breeders' Cup Classic. And with the added pressure of this being his final race, Bob Baffert, wonderful silver-haired trainer that even the casual horse racing fan knows about, put this horse in a position for his last start. And yes, with the scratch of Beholder and Smooth Roller, the other 2 speed horses, it was a bit of a base on balls. He was 3-5, but take the betting away out of it. Move that to the side and just focus in on what we were watching. This is history. This is the first ever Breeders' Cup in Lexington at Keeneland, surrounded by all the horse farms where this guy is going to go and make other wonderful horses, making babies, eating food, living the good life. One last time, American Pharoah as the favorite, Breeders' Cup Classic, last chance to run into the history books, and here he is.
American Pharoah comes into his final furlong, and he's got a 5-6 length lead as they come to the wire. A Triple Crown winner, a Breeders' Cup winner, a horse of a lifetime. American Pharoah has won the Breeders' Cup Classic over FNX and Honor Code in a final time of 2 minutes, 0.07 seconds. He went out in style.
Larry Kalmus, well done on the call.
Brilliant.
Really good call. And if you watched it, it was breathtaking. And what I'll never forget, Kendall, is the race was going off literally as we're pulling in with the media bus to the arena at St. Louis. And so it's whatever it is, 4:45 in the afternoon. The team bus had already brought most of the players there. So I'm watching on my phone as I walk into the building, and he crosses the wire literally as I kind of get down the hall to the wild locker area. And Ryan Suter comes out of the locker room with this giant smile on his face. Did you see it? Did you see the race? And then a couple other guys, Gorg, did you see American Pharoah? And here these guys are, they barely know what a horse race is, but they're athletes and they know greatness.
And they want to see.
And they want to see the best of the best. And they stopped in the locker room as they were taping their sticks and getting loosened up for this big battle with St. Louis. The TV in the locker room had the race on with the call. And these guys, a lot of these guys like Nino Niederreiter, they've probably never seen a horse race in their lives. And they're sitting there cheering for American Pharoah. And I got chills. I mean, I just got chills watching him do his thing. He crushed that field. And you know what? We may never see another Triple Crown winner. If we have to wait another 37 years, I might not be here. And to do it the way he did, like you said, in style, nobody else in the picture as he came down to the final 100 yards, it was spectacular. It was worth seeing. I hope you had a chance to watch it. Aaron, thank you for giving us a chance to listen to it. The Breeders' Cup was a big hit. I made money on Friday. I lost a little on Saturday, but it never disappoints. It's the best of the best. The coverage is awesome. Eddie Olchuk, who will be joining us on the Sports Ticket later this winter, Blackhawks analyst, hockey analyst for NBC Sports, and horse racing owner and expert, will be on the show a little later this winter. But watching him do his thing on NBC was fun. Edzo's become a friend of mine because of the jobs we have and because we both love horse racing. We've really connected over the years and end up, on race days sharing texts all day. So it's really fun. But God, it was neat to watch American Pharoah win. So happy for him.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Super cool. I'm actually visualizing you right now watching it with your Broncos hat on.
Well,
Maybe
I got a horse on my head.
Broncos hat? Is that how you became a Broncos fan? Just because they're horses?
No, I always tell the story. And I'm wearing my Bronco gear now, and I'm still a Viking fan, but the Broncos are my number one team, and they have been since I was 7 years old. And when I was a kid, and again, so I'm 48, so we're talking early 70s. I collected beer and pop cans, and this is before recycling, guys. So literally, back when I was a kid, you could go out beer can and pop can hunting because people literally toss their stuff out the window. This is not a joke. And there were flea markets where you could buy all these really cool cans, and cone tops were in vogue. And I found a Denver Bronco Orange Crush pop can with the Bronco logo on one side and the team picture on the other. And this is circa 1975, 74. And I fell in love with the logo. I loved horses. And I'm like, this is my team.
And that's it.
I got paid back 3 years later. Craig Morton at quarterback. Rick Upchurch, a former Gopher, as their punt returner and wide receiver. They go to the Super Bowl. Now they get housed by America's team, the Dallas Cowboys, but they end up going to many more Super Bowls, and they've been my team all my life. And it was that pop can collection back in the 70s
pop can
that got me to love the Denver Broncos. And so there's the story.
People in marketing love you.
It works. Marketing works.
Seriously.
Bottom line. So it all comes back to horses. And one more question from the season ticket holders, and then we're going to wrap up the podcast for a Monday. It comes from Troy Erkenbrack, who says, specifically to me, KG, where does American Pharoah rank as far as the greats go in the game of horse racing? And when I think of the greats, it's, for me, in my lifetime, starts with Secretariat, Big Red, and we've all seen the 30 for 30 on ESPN. They opened up the horse when he died, sadly, and they did the autopsy. His heart was 2.5 times the size of any other horse heart they had ever seen. So he had a different engine, and he was this big red machine that just destroyed the field in the Belmont and just ran horses over in the stretch and just crushed. He's the best I ever saw. Seattle Slew did it with speed. He was a speed breaker that would just open up a big lead, and his heart would not let him slow down. But I put American Pharoah at least in the top 6 or 8. He's not the elite of the elite like a Secretariat or a Seattle Slew. He's on that next cusp, and it's not a shot against him because if you look at his times and look at what he's going to do in the breeding shed, he's got a ton of credentials. But I'm not certain that the horses he's racing against now in this generation
are as good
as the horses that we saw back in the 60s and 70s when
they made Triple Crowns.
Yeah, that was a different level of horse back then. And so for that reason, and for that reason only, I'm going to move him to that 6 or 7 range. But we saw greatness. It was special. And Kendall, if they come out on Thursday, they're going to see greatness too because they're going to see you live in center. You're probably not going to have this outfit on
special
because you look like you look like you might have thrown up earlier today.
I thank you for bringing that up. I might.
Well, you brought it up first,
okay.
literally. She had a little stomach issue earlier. She's okay now.
I'm okay. I'm alive.
We'll light a candle at church on the way home.
I wore my Harry Potter sweatshirt today because of it. I don't know if you missed that. It's Hogwarts alumni. Where's my geeks at?
You're a geek. There's no really good-looking geek, but you're a geek. Now, are you working the game Thursday at the X?
No.
So you're just going to come looking pretty and have a good time at McGovern's?
Just going to come and have a good time, yeah.
All right, Thursday, McGovern's, 3:30, season ticket holders. It's a date. Coors Light specials, great food at Patrick McGovern's on West 7th. For Kendall Mark, I'm Kevin Gorg and the Alive Social Network, Live and Social. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.